Good morning, dear students. I hope you all are getting serious about your studies and enjoying our online classes. In today's class, we will try to complete the chapter which we have started in our previous class, which is George's Secret Key to the Universe. But before that, let us revise what we have read in our previous class. So we have already read that the story is about a little boy whose name is George. One day, while looking for his pet, he entered an abandoned house. But he was surprised to see that two people lived in that house. One was a little girl named Annie, and the second was Annie's father, Eric. Eric was a scientist. He was fascinated by Eric's special computer. So Eric's house was full of curious things as he was a scientist. But the thing which drew the attention of George the most was his special computer. The computer's name is Cosmos. So we have already read that Cosmos is the computer, and it is very special because it can talk, it can compute the ages of planets, stars, comets, etc. Eric wanted Cosmos to show how a star is formed. But Cosmos, he wanted George to take the oath of the scientist and promise that he will never ever misuse his knowledge for causing harm to the mankind. So George happily takes the oath of the scientist. Now we are going to begin the chapter's reading. Eric clapped. Annie burst an empty crisp packet. Cosmos flashed a rainbow of bright colors across his screen. So everybody showed that they all were very happy when George took the oath of the scientist. Well done, George, said Eric. Cosmos will now show how a star is born. Welcome, said Cosmos, playing a little computerized fanfare to the universe. Student, computerized fanfare means a small piece of music which is usually played before some important event begins. So Cosmos began the whole show of showing how a star is formed by playing a small piece of music. The room was getting darker and darker. Come and sit here, George, said Annie, who had already settled herself on the big comfy sofa. George sat next to her, and after a few seconds, a tiny beam of very bright white light, it came directly from Cosmos's screen. The beam shot out into the middle of the room, where it wavered for a second before it began to sketch a shape in the air. So what happened was that Annie invited George to sit with her on the sofa. George also sat there. But after a few seconds, a tiny beam of white light came from the screen of Cosmos. The beam shot out into the middle of the room. There it wavered. Wavered means flickered. As in our home also, when there is a fluctuation of voltage, the lights usually flicker. So similarly, the light flickered in the room and then it began to sketch a shape in the air. But that looks like George began to speak, and he was interrupted by Eric. Eric said, a window. Cosmos has made us a window to the universe. Watch closely. The beam of light disappeared, leaving the window it had drawn in the middle of Eric's room, hanging in mid-air. So the window was actually hanging in the middle of the room. It was a virtual window. It now looked exactly like a real window. It had a big sheet of glass in the pane and a metal frame. So just as in our own house we have windows which have glass. So similarly, this window was also having a sheet of glass and a metal frame. Beyond it, there was a view, and the view was not of Eric's house or of any other house, road or town or anywhere else that George had ever seen before. So through the window, George could see a view, but this view was not of any place which George had seen before. Instead, through the window, George could see an incredible vast darkness, prepped with what looked like a tiny bright stars. He started to try and count them. So actually, the window was the window to the universe. George could see countless numbers of stars from the window. "George," said Cosmos in his mechanical voice, "there are billions and billions of stars in the universe. Now new stars are created all the time. They are born in giant clouds of dust and gas. I am going to show how it happens." So Cosmos interrupts and says that there are billions and billions of stars in the universe and new stars are created all the time. The stars are formed in giant clouds of dust and gas, and he wanted to explain George how a star is formed. How long does it take for a star to be born? We all know that George was very curious. So he asked, how much time is required for a star to be born? Cosmos replied, tens of millions of years. I hope you are not in a hurry. So Cosmos was teasing George that it would take tens and billions of years. Is it possible for a normal human being to survive for that long period of time? It's not. So they were just kidding. Tut tut, said Eric, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the sofa. Don't worry, George. I have speeded it up quite a lot. You'll still get home for dinner. So Eric assured him, saying that he has speeded up the whole event and they would be able to complete the process within a few hours. So here, now Cosmos was going to show how a star is formed to Next, let us read forward. George noticed something about the view through the window onto outer space. Not all of it was covered with little stars. In the bottom corner of the window, he saw a patch of total darkness, a place where not a single star shone. So what happened was that when George looked into the window, he saw that not the whole window was covered with little stars. The bottom corner of the window, right? In the bottom corner of the window, there was a patch of total darkness. There were no stars in that particular corner. So he pointed, "What's happening there?" Eric said, "Let's have a look, shall we?" He pressed a button on a remote control and the view through the window seemed to zoom towards the dark patch. As they got closer, George realized that an enormous cloud was hovering in that spot. The window kept moving forward until they were right inside the cloud itself, and George could see it was made of gas and dust, just as Cosmos had said. So when he zoomed out that particular corner of the window. We also do it in our mobile phones, isn't it? We also zoom out a particular portion of the picture. Similarly, Eric also zoomed in that particular corner of the window. As they got closer, George realized that that corner was not vacant. There was a huge cloud which was hovering in that spot, and that cloud was made up of dust and gas, just as Cosmos had said. It's a huge cloud in the outer space, much bigger than the ones in the sky, replied Eric, made up of tiny, tiny particles which are all floating around inside it. There are so many of these particles that the cloud is enormous. It is big. It's so big that you can put millions and millions of earth inside it. So Eric goes on to explain that this huge cloud is made up of tiny, tiny particles of dust and gas which are floating around and inside it. There are so many particles in this particular cloud and it is so huge that we can put millions and millions of earths inside it. From this cloud, many stars will be born. Not just one, not just two, but many stars will be born. Inside the cloud, George could see the particles moving around, some joining together to form huge lumps of matter. These great lumps spun round and round, gathering even more particles all the time. So next what happens is that George looked inside the cloud. What is happening? He finds the particles, the dust particles moving around. So while these particles were moving, some particles joined together and they formed huge lumps of matter. These great lumps, the lumps of matter which were formed by joining up of dust particles, they spun round and round, and as they moved round and round, they gathered more particles. But what was unique was that as the particles joined together, the spinning lumps weren't getting bigger. Instead, they seemed to be getting smaller, as though something was squeezing them. But to George's surprise, when he looked at the matters, these spinning lumps, he found that the more particles they were gathering, their size was not increasing. Rather, their size was, they were getting smaller in size, as if something is squeezing them from inside. Now let us read what happens next. It looked like someone was making gigantic dough balls in the outer space. One of these giant balls was quite close to the window, and George could see it spinning around, getting smaller and smaller all the time. As it shrank, it became hotter and hotter, so hot that George could feel the heat from where he sat on the sofa, and then it started to glow with a dim but frightening light. So what happened? Let us just read once more. It looked like someone was making gigantic dough balls. Students, these lumps of matter which was there in the cloud, it looked like gigantic. Gigantic means huge, enormous. Enormous dough balls. Now dough, you all must have seen your mummies making roti, right? So what happens? First they knead this wheat flour and then they make a dough out of it. So in the cloud, these balls were looking like gigantic dough, right? In the outer space. One of these giant balls was quite close to the window now. So one of these huge gigantic ball was near to the window, and George could see that it was spinning round. As it spun around, what happened was that it was getting smaller and smaller. As it shrank, it became hotter and hotter. So hot that George could also feel the heat which was coming out of it. And then it started to glow with a dim but frightening light. George again asked, "Why is it glowing?" So Eric answered, "The more it shrinks, the hotter it gets." Clear? The more it shrinks, the more the lumps will shrink, the more hotter it will get. The hotter it gets, the brighter it shines. Very soon it is going to get too hot. And suddenly George noticed that the ball exploded from inside, throwing off its outer layer of burning hot gases in all directions. So what happened? That particular giant ball, which was spinning quite near to the window, it got so hot that it burst, and it threw off all its outer layers of hot burning gases in all the directions. After explosion, the ball was shining like the sun. "Wow," said George. "Is that the sun?" "It could be," Eric replied. "That's how stars are born, and the sun is a star." So George was quite excited. He looked at that ball, which was now just like our sun, a bright burning ball of fire. So he said, "Wow, is that the sun?" And Eric said that That is how the stars are born, and sun is of course a star. So it might be sun also. When a huge amount of gas and dust combines and shrinks to become dense and hot, as you have just seen, the particles in the middle of the ball are so pressed together that they start to fuse. Fuse means join up, releasing an enormous amount of energy. This is called nuclear fusion reaction. Student, you must have come across this term, nuclear fusion reaction, in your science textbooks. What basically happens in sun also, that is nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. So what happened in this star, let us see. Eric explains that when a huge amount of gas and dust combines and shrinks, just what happened with this particular gigantic ball, right? It was made up of dust particles and gas. First it gathered mass and then it started to shrink. When it shrinks, it becomes dense and hot, just you have seen. The particles in the middle of the ball are so pressed together that they start to fuse up or join. So the particles, dust particles in the middle of the star, it starts to fuse up or join, and then they explode, releasing an enormous amount of energy. This is called nuclear fusion reaction. It is so powerful that when it starts, it throws off the outer layer of the ball and the rest is transformed into a star. That's what you saw just now. Eric explained that same nuclear fusion reaction happened in front of them, and the bright burning ball of fire was left in front of them. The star was now shining steadily in the distance. It was a beautiful sight. George gazed at it, amazed by its power. Every now and then he could see huge jets of brightly shining gases sent hundreds or thousands of miles from the surface at extraordinary speeds. So while George was mesmerized, George was awestruck. He was looking at this window continuously. The meaning of gaze is to stare at something, keep looking at something. George was amazed by its power, by the power of the star. Every now and then he could see huge jets of brightly shining gases sent hundreds and thousands of miles from the surface at extraordinary speeds. Every now and then from a distance he could view that the bright lights flickering, and he could realize, he would understand that a star is being formed. Then he asked a final question, which is, and the star will keep shining like this forever? He asked. An epic reply was given by Eric, which is, nothing is forever, George. Nothing is forever. Nothing in the world, students. Whatever is there in the world on our earth is actually momentary. It has to go away one day. Even human beings, any non-living things you take, everybody has a lifespan which we have to live, and after some time we have to disappear into the oblivion. So here we end this chapter, which is George's secret key to the universe. Now for today, I am not giving you any homework in particular, but I want to give you one question, only one question, whose answer you have to write. And the question is, if you happen to meet Cosmos one day, suppose you meet a supercomputer like Cosmos one day, what would you ask Cosmos to show you and why? I'll give this question to you in written also. So you have to write this answer in 40 to 50 words max. Clear? So with this we end this chapter. In our next class we'll try to get done with the question answers of this lesson. Keep reading, stay safe and stay home. All the best.